Blue Underground brings to 4K Ultra HD and Blu-ray the 1972 shot in England by an American gruesome horror film Deathline, aka Raw Meat. A little bit of trivia here. Not very trivial if you're the director. Directed by Gary Sherman, who would go on to do Dead and Buried and Vice Squad and other things, and stars Donald Pleasence. I say Christopher Lee is on the packaging. It's one scene, but it's a really good scene. Norman Rossington and other people whose names or faces you might not remember. But anyway, those are the notable people on this. This package is a 4K UHD and a Blu-ray, the contents of which are pretty similar. I'll get into the details later. This is a film that was shot as Deathline. Film is about the very, very basic idea of this is that shot and set in 1972, long earlier, while the subway tunnels, the underground, the tube tunnels were being constructed in and around London, there was a cave-in and workers were trapped there and left for dead, but they didn't die and they survived. And I'll leave it up to you to figure out how they survived and continued on as a strange, nonverbal race of people. One of these people, billed as the man in the film, escapes the tunnels occasionally and just captures and kidnaps people for very nefarious purposes underground. And this is discovered that people are disappearing and what is causing this. And the police, led by Donald Pleasence, investigate, and a young hippie couple get involved in this, and who will survive and what will be left of them. So this film was shot, edited, finished as Deathline, and has a certain length of film and a certain amount of content in it. And the distributor for the U.S. was Sam Arkoff at American International Pictures, dearly beloved, dearly departed American International Pictures. And they decided to recut the film, chop a lot of the more gruesome stuff out of the film, chop some of the character stuff out of the film, and retitle it Raw Meat. And the filmmakers were not really thrilled with that fact, but that's what it is. So it was always known here as Raw Meat. The ad campaign for it was really great. The posters were phenomenal. The logo font is phenomenal, but it's not what the filmmakers wanted. So what is on this set is the Deathline version. Now, it says Raw Meat on the packaging and on the menus and everything, but this is the Deathline version of the film. That is the title that's on screen, and it plays out in its original uncut version, which is not what a lot of us saw here for a long time. The way I originally saw this film was via video trade. I used to do a lot of tape trading on the internet in the earlier days before torrents and YouTube and streaming, where you had to have a physical copy of something to see it. And if it was something very rare, it was the kind of thing that people would, make a copy of and swap for something else. So I first saw Raw Meat in one of these forms after seeing images for it in like the Phil Hardy's Encyclopedia of Horror and Michael Weldon's Psychotronic Encyclopedia of Film and stuff like that. I'd never seen the film. It sounded terrifying and horrifying. And the one still that I saw was hard to look at. It was so gruesome. So the first time I got this, it was on a tape that was a copy of 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 a terrible, dark pan and scan transfer of this film. And you literally could not see what was going on 60 to 80% of the time in the movie. Anything that took place underground was nothing, and all you could hear was just moaning, and it sounded like a much different film than it is because you couldn't see this creature and these people doing what they were doing. So it is amazing to have this looking this good. Since this has been in the hands of Blue Underground, previously released on Blu-ray, the transfer is really good. This is a new 4K transfer, so the movie has never looked this good. All of the murky, dark scenes have detail that they never did before and color that they never did before. I always like to say skin tones look really good in this. Razor sharp, it looks fabulous, and it is the best this movie has ever looked. And I don't want to say the best it'll ever look, but I don't imagine it's going to look a lot better than this does. I will tell you what is on this. It is, we'll go over what's on the 4K disc, and then I'll tell you what's on the Blu-ray. The Blu-ray is pretty much the same thing, but it has a little more. Sometimes with these releases, they will devote more of the higher bit rate, more storage space on the disc to the main feature, and sometimes they report the extras over onto the Blu-ray disc. Sometimes those extras aren't in 4K. Sometimes if it's a Blu-ray and a DVD, sometimes the extras are only in standard def. They'll leave that on the standard def disc. Anyway, the 4K UHD disc has Audio options are English Dolby Atmos, English 5.1 DTS HD, English 1.0 DTS HD, and French 1.0 DTS HD. That's how I chose to listen to it, was the 1.0 mono, because I don't have surround sound, and that's how it would have sounded in theaters originally. You get English SDH subtitles for the deaf and hard of hearing, and you have French subtitles and Spanish subtitles. The feature, as I said, looks phenomenal. And of course, this is coming from me, and I cannot help but think about, I kept saying as I was watching this, yeah, that tape I had, you couldn't see this at all. You would have never have seen this on video. And I guess even the previous maybe DVD edition, maybe before it was Blue Underground, apparently did not look as good as the filmmakers thought it should either. So in the commentary that's on here, they talk about this. Like, we're looking at an older transfer. The new one looks better than this. The American lead in this film, seeing my notes over, the American lead in this film, who I believe was Gary Sherman's brother, or no, Alan Ladd Jr., who was the producer of this film, is his brother. Not that great in this film. Seems like a very nice guy, but to me, against the British actors, was a little weak. I think he's really the only American actor in the whole film, and I think they put him in there thinking it would make it easier to sell in America if there was an American actor or an American lead, but otherwise it's all 70s British people with very unfortunate hairstyles for the time. The extras on the 4K UHD include a commentary with co-writer and director Gary Sherman, producer Paul Maslansky, who did a ton of stuff, including the Police Academy. Police Academy, I get choked up when I think about films that feature Bubba Smith. The Police Academy series with Paul Maslansky and assistant director Lewis Moore O'Farrell. Another commentary with film historians Nathaniel Thompson and Troy Howarth. So you get commentary from the people who made the film talking about what the experience was like, and then you get the people who are historians who fill in all the gaps that weren't in that other commentary. Not really much in the way of overlap between the two tracks, which is great in terms of content or information. You get two trailers. You get the Raw Meat trailer that's 2 minutes, and then you get the Death Line trailer that's 2 minutes. They're very, very similar aside from, I think maybe some of the narration, and certainly the on-screen title is different. The TV spots, 3. You get a 60, a 30, and a 20. I'm always excited to see how someone takes a 2 or 3 minute trailer and condenses that and gets the same information or the same salient information across in shorter and shorter increments. As an editor or former editor who used to do TV spots, it was always an interesting challenge to see how much you could retain getting it down to like a 15 or a 10, which they would sometimes do. You get 2 radio spots, a 60 and a 30 seconds of what that means. And then that's what's on the 4K disc. I did not notice any. I seem to remember on a previous edition of this, there were Easter eggs. I didn't see any Easter eggs on the 4K, and I didn't see any Easter eggs in the Blu-ray, and I did try to the best of my ability, so I don't know if they just left them off here. Let me know if there are and I missed them, because I like to see what they are. The Blu-ray disc, the identical contents and specs, plus a poster gallery that's 169 images that's really cool, and featurettes. You get Tales from the Tube, which is an interview with co-writer, director Gary Sherman and executive producers Jay Cantor and Alan Ladd Jr. That's 19 minutes, and they're just sitting in what looks to be one of their living rooms, just having a chat about the film. Very honest, realistic chat about the experience of making the film. The fact that at one point, Marlon Brando was in talks to play the bearded, haggard, nonverbal underground raw meat guy in this film, as viewing it as a challenge and liking the idea, a List of Adrian Messenger kind of thing, where you don't even know that Brando is in it. He's in so much makeup you can't tell it's him, and that they wouldn't even advertise that until like after it had come out. But something fell through familially. It would have been insane if Brando wound up being in this film. For another extra, From the Depths interview with star David Ladd and producer Paul Maslansky. That's 13 minutes. Again, a very interesting discussion about the making of the film and how it all came to be. Even though I didn't like Ladd, his performance in this film, he seems like a really cool guy. Mind the Doors, an interview with star Hugh Armstrong, who he is the guy who plays the man. He is the guy who plays essentially the horror character in this film. So it's wild to see this guy who was just this non-verbal, feral, gruesome creature in this film as a very jovial man who sadly has since passed away. That is 16 minutes long. I will show you the packaging, which is very nice, very sleek, very, you won't get this seeing it this way, but it is actually one of these things where the slipcase, it has a foil aspect to it. So the glowing eyes of the underground people, if you move it around, which again, you're not seeing here, they glow and they twinkle, which is pretty creepy. And also on the spine, that is sort of metallic there. So front and the back, you get the specs. I had Neglected to mention the runtime is 87 minutes, so that is the full runtime on the film. And this list says 73. I had said 72 earlier, so it's 72 or 73. Your mileage may vary. So slipcase slips to reveal sort of that traditional AIP art, which is very evocative it's very evocative in that it evokes emotion and an interest in seeing the film. It is in no way evocative of what the film actually is, which I'm sure Gary Sherman and the producers did not like about that. But that'll get butts in seats. Half-naked people with glowing eyes what's that movie about? And the answer is not half-naked people with glowing eyes. And the back looks like that. You get your 2 discs there, and they do what I love, which is a reversible cover, which shows you it's a Deathline cover, much more contemporary looking cover. I think that might have been what Blue Underground used for the DVD release or Blu-ray release, but I'm probably wrong, as I often am. So available now on 4K UHD and Blu-ray, which is also to say, if I didn't say it earlier, it's both one per disc. So if you don't have a 4K player, get this and it'll be the best this movie's ever looked on Blu-ray. If you eventually get the 4K player, hey, you've already got the disc. And if you do have a 4K player, you've got a bonus Blu-ray player to play for your toddler in the back seat while on long car drive. So that is it, and it is gruesome, and it is, did I mention that the film is really gruesome at times? If not gruesome in visuals, which it is, the tone of what goes on with the man character underground is very disturbing and actually very sad too. It's an unpleasant movie. I mean, which is what you want in a horror film, but it's always a film that I look back on like it wasn't one that I was like excited to watch again because the tone is so grim in this film, which may be exactly what you're looking for. So thanks to Blue Underground, it's now available in all its grimness in 4K UHD and Blu-ray.